Hello, everyone. My name is Linda O'Neill-Four, and I am the author of a children's book titled My Brother Adam, A Journey with Schizophrenia. And welcome to Over 60 and Loving It. And about 2 weeks ago, I did a video, and it was an introduction video. And at that time, I talked about how my video was geared to uplift the senior, encourage the senior, and motivate the senior. And so today my topic is going to be schizophrenia. And I also said in that video that every week I was going to be talking about a different topic. But the reason why I chose this topic, because my son had schizophrenia. He was diagnosed when he was 20 years old. He passed at 23, but his symptoms started when he was 17 years old. So he was in high school when his symptoms started. And so I'm going to give you the definition of schizophrenia. But first, I'm going to show you my book. This is my book that my daughter and I wrote together. And so after I lost my son, we both were in so much pain that I decided to write a book, and it helped us both in our healing process. Okay, so the definition of schizophrenia is a chronic, severe, and disabling brain disorder. It affects the way a person thinks, the way they make decisions, their actions, their feelings, and their socialization skills. It has no racial or economic boundaries. The most familiar symptom of the disease are hallucinations and delusions. Currently, there are 2.7 million people that have been diagnosed with schizophrenia in the United States. Okay, now, a lot of times people that have schizophrenia, they don't feel like engaging in activities. A lot of times they just want to stay in their room. Like my son, he wanted to stay in his room a lot. And I remember it would be in the summertime, it would be like 80 degrees outside. He had no desire to go out. My son used to be really active. He played football, he played soccer, he was very active. And so one day when he was in high school, he came up to me and he said, "Mom, I'm depressed." And I took him to a doctor, and little did I know that was the beginning of his mental illness. And so I say that because as parents, we need to listen to our children. You know, when our children come up to us and tell us that they're depressed, and I always say this when I speak to parents, because sometimes I go out and I speak about my book, and I always tell parents, don't tell your child that you shouldn't be depressed because you don't pay bills. You don't have any responsibility. That's all you do is go to school. Don't tell your children that, because any age can be depressed. And not only that, when a child is depressed and they come and tell their parent that they're depressed, that takes a lot of courage, because usually children will tell their friends. They usually don't tell their parents. Their parents is usually the last one to know. So it's better to be open with your children and listen to your children and take it serious. When they come to you and they say, "I'm depressed," take it serious, because just like with my son, that was the beginning of his mental illness. And I'm so glad that I took him to the doctor, because I thought he was just acting out, because he would come home from school and he would tell me, "Mom, I can't concentrate." And I thought, well, maybe he just didn't want to be at school. I didn't know that that was the beginning of his mental illness. He really couldn't concentrate. And then another thing is, when children are acting out in school, and I mean severely acting out, a lot of times they could have a mental health issue. So that's something to take into consideration, that they could really have a mental health issue. And a lot of times, people will tease people that have schizophrenia. They will call them schizo, and nobody wants to be called a schizo. We're people, we're human beings, and we should be respected. So no one wants to be called by their illness, and no one wants to be made fun of. And so a lot of times, people that have a mental health issue, they don't like to engage in a lot of activities. And when they have chronic, like my son had chronic schizophrenia, so he didn't really want to engage in any activities. And so we have to understand that. We have to understand that their brain can't work like our brain. Like, even when it comes to like sitting in front of a computer, maybe you might be studying something or on a calculator trying to figure out something, well, that's too hard for them because they have a hard time, with their thinking process. And just like driving a car, we just jump in and take off. But somebody that has chronic schizophrenia, a lot of times they don't even drive because it's too much thinking. So the best way that we can learn about mental health is to educate ourselves. When my son got sick, I had to educate myself. I went to the library, I went online, and I just educated myself. I read, I studied, I just did so many things just so I can learn about that disease that my son had. And so I did my research on schizophrenia, on bipolar, on PTSD, on OCD, and depression. And the reason why it's important for us is because we can be able to recognize it in our family members, in our coworkers, and in our friends. So this video is going to be a two-part video. This is part one. And if you like my channel, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel. Next week I will be back, and I'm going to do part two. And I'm going to be talking about the disease of schizophrenia. Okay, so thank you so much for listening, and have a good day. All right, bye-bye.